In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, once the crown jewel of the Japanese game developer Konami, is one of the most renowned icons in the history of video games. Along with its rival Resident Evil, the Silent Hill series defined the very genre of survival horror games when it was first unveiled in 1999. The group of the game developers that produced the first 4 installments of the series, later known as Team Silent, created a gaming experience that was fundamentally different from the other horror games at the time, and explored a brand new way of bringing horror to the players. The Silent Hill series integrated rich gothic constructs, including the doubling, the uncanny, the destruction of safe space, and the insane narrator into the game experience through its atmosphere design, protagonist characterization, and gameplay. The pale, endless, and impenetrable fog is quintessential to the game. When the players walk in the nightmarish town of Silent Hill, there is nothing but fog beyond the immediate vicinity. While other game developers in the late 1990s used fog as horizon of the artificial world to conceal the limited computing power of the gaming consoles, the producer of Silent Hill transformed it to an indispensable feature that engraves the suffocating feelings into the players' minds forever. When the protagonists explore the town with a sketchy map as the only method of navigation, the game maximizes the eternal fear of the unknown and hits the players with a naked sense of helplessness. And then there's the town itself, canopied by the fog. Churches, restaurants, schools, hospitals, and pharmacies. A perfectly normal town on paper. However, when the gamers put down the map, they see the true visage of Silent Hill, a ghost town with virtually no other human beings. As the name suggests, it is silent, unbearably silent. The lack of other humans presented in the absence of their voices creates an uncanny effect similar to the hotel in The Shining. And just like The Shining destroyed people's feeling of safety in hotels, the developers of Silent Hill work extremely hard to do the same for every part of the town. For instance, the game deprives schools, a place commonly associated with children, love, and hope, of its sense of safety and implants blood and desperation. The 4th installment of the series took it even further. It destroys the safety of one's most intimate space, his or her own room. As the developers themselves explained, a person's room should be a place of refuge and comfort. We felt that it would really be terrifying to become trapped in that sanctuary and to have that space gradually eroded through a succession of disturbing events. From a broader perspective, the town of Silent Hill as a whole is the largest instrument of horror. The developers took the concept of doubling to another level. Rather than doubling the protagonists, they mirrored the entire town of Silent Hill to create the revolting Otherworld, which is structurally identical to the real Silent Hill but immersed in blood-stained, gory rust, and deformed monsters. As the protagonists traverse back and forth between the real world and the Otherworld, one cannot help but wonder whether the Otherworld really exists or is merely a reflection of the protagonist's progressive mental breakdown and insane imagination. Speaking of the unreliable narrators, the most profound difference between the Silent Hill series and the Resident Evil franchise is that the Team Silent chose to characterize the protagonists as civilians, which reinforced the interactive nature of the game by making the gameplay more relatable and immersive. Resident Evil, along with many other survival horror games at the time, features a savior-like protagonist with superhuman or at least outstanding combative skills. By contrast, the playable protagonists in the first 4 installments of Silent Hill series are all ordinary citizens. Harry the father searching for his missing daughter, James the husband looking for the origin of a letter written by his dead wife, Hilda the daughter of Harry, and Henry who is trapped by his own apartment. Their relatability fuses them with the players, controlling their actions, and give the gamers goosebumps even after they quit the game. The civilian nature of the protagonist also dictates the distinct gameplay of the franchise. Instead of relying on the tense and consecutive combats with horrific monsters to create horror, like the Resident Evil, Silent Hill induces fear from the experience itself. With close to non-instructions, the gameplay is designed in a way that the gamers have to find out the next step entirely on themselves. For instance, in the first part of Silent Hill 2, only after the players have found all the routes to the marked destination are blocked, they will realize they have to go through a building, and before which they have to find a key on a dead body. In this way, the gameplay becomes infinitely close to the real experience of exploring a foggy town void of a living soul. The fragility of the civilian protagonist also imitates the reality very well, where we humans can be easily injured or even killed in dangerous situations similar to the game world. As a result, the players are encouraged to avoid combat and to put survival as the first priority, hence the name of the genre. In an era when gaming consoles have formidable computing powers to render lifelike graphics, and the VR devices provides unprecedented immersive experience for gamers, it is indeed a shame that Konami cancelled the latest Silent Hill installment back in 2015, practically putting an end to a franchise that has penetrated to the deepest level of human mind to tear our mental protection apart and expose us to our most primal fears. 20 years after its debut, the Silent Hill series' unique cinematic designs, distinctive characterization, and revolutionary gameplay continue to inspire new generations of game developers to explore an interconnected concept of horror and human nature. Soma, the Outlast series, Until Dawn, the Evil Within series, and many more exceptional survival horror games to come.